So let me ask you a question. What Sonic game, or set of Sonic games, is almost universally loved by everybody in the Sonic community? Now, there are many right answers to this, but the first thing that comes to mind, for me at least, are the adventure games. The pure impact of these games had on the Sonic series has been truly unmatched, and this year, it's clear that Sega wants to revisit those games with Sonic Movie 3 and Sonic X Shadow Generations taking DNA from the adventure games. But due to the overwhelming success of these games, requests for a third game to round out the trilogy have been exclaimed for a long time now. However, I think we might already have that third adventure game that people have been asking for, and that game is none other than Sonic 06 Why Is Everybody Booing? Yes, I get it. Sonic 06 is a bad game. How could it possibly stand with the two adventure games that everybody loved? The game was unfinished, the story was poorly written, and there were bugs and glitches all over the place. We all know the story by now. But most of us can agree that there was always something there with 06. Nowadays, with fan projects like Project 06 by Chaos X, which aims to rebuild 06 but make it good, it's clear that there was always potential behind this game. Dare I say ambition? Okay, so yeah, the game is bad, but it could have been good with a little bit more development time. But how does this game relate to the adventure games? Well, it has more similarities than you think. But before we get into that, we have to ask ourselves, what is a Sonic adventure game? While both games in the duology have adventure in the title, they also have several differences from one another. The first game featured more open level design, while the second game kept everything more linear. The first game also had hub worlds that connected all of the levels, while the second game kept everything streamlined. The first game had 6 different playstyles with dedicated campaigns for each, while the second game cuts the number of playstyles in half and puts them all into only 2 campaigns. So in this case, we have to look at what the games share in common. Multiple campaigns with connecting stories, differing gameplay styles within those campaigns, and those playstyles containing a form of speed, treasure hunting, and mech shooting. Now, what if I told you that 06 has all of those things? Let's start with the gameplay. Now, say what you will about the controls and physics and all of that, but the design philosophy of 06 maintains that Sonic adventure feel. Sonic can still spin dash, light speed dash, bounce, homing attack, and all of that stuff. We even have upgrades in the form of gems. The treasure hunting is still somewhat maintained with Rouge and Knuckles with their glide and combat focused gameplay. There's even a level in the game that has Rouge collecting keys. And the shooting can be covered by Tails and Omega, but more so Omega because, well, he actually shoots things. And of course, that's not even mentioning the other playstyles that were introduced in 06, like with Shadow and Silver. One could argue they even brought back Amy's gameplay from the first adventure game, but yeah, that's pretty debatable. So yeah, 06 has multiple different playable characters with differing playstyles. But what else? We also have 3 different story campaigns, which all have pretty different gameplay styles. However, the way 06 splits these stories up somewhat follows how Adventure 2 changed the campaigns from Adventure 1. Let me explain. Adventure 1 had 6 different campaigns with 6 different playstyles, and they all had their own levels. Adventure 2 kind of condenses this by shoving everything into 2 campaigns, but each gameplay style still has its own levels. In 06's campaigns, there are multiple playstyles and characters in single levels. Halfway through a Sonic stage, you may run into Tails or Knuckles to play a short segment centered around their playstyle. It kind of gives the player variety without entirely switching things up as the first 2 adventure games did. These segments are often a breath of fresh air over anything else, while the treasure hunting levels and mech shooting levels in Adventure 2 felt more like a chore since the playstyles were split into much larger chunks. The way 06 does it is more like a gimmick, I guess, but not a bad gimmick. But yeah, if you ask me, 06 improves on how multiple playable characters work. As for the level design, I do think it combines what made the Adventure 1 level design good with the Adventure 2 level design. The levels do have linear moments, but it's not all linear, as there are also moments that are wide open and encourage the player to explore. It's also worth noting how the Mach speed sections in some of Sonic's levels further enhance that variety within the level design. Kingdom Valley is a perfect example of this adventure-esque design, if you ask me. It has moments where you can take branching paths, it has a couple of enemy rooms, and of course the Mach speed section where you get to go fast. And while Adventure 1 or Adventure 2 did blend these things together more, I think it's still worth noting how 06 somewhat includes that same design philosophy. And finally, I want to talk about the story. Adventure 2's story directly followed up Adventure 1 and introduced Shadow the Hedgehog, the second hedgehog to be introduced to the series. You could probably tell where I'm going with this. Shadow's whole character in Adventure 2 was centered around his past and the promises he made in his past, while Sonic was more focused on the present. And then 06 brings in Silver, who's trying to fix his future. It just adds another piece of that sort of time-based characterization that Sonic and Shadow had in Adventure 2, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so after going through all of that, is Sonic 06 the third adventure game? Well, no, because it's not called Sonic Adventure 3, but if you ask me, it is the closest thing we have to a third adventure game. Honestly, if 06's reception wasn't so bad, I can see people considering it to be the third adventure game. But the fact that it was very, and I mean very lacking compared to the previous games, then people just didn't see it that way. I'm just saying that if Sega called this game Adventure 3, then I feel like people wouldn't look at the adventure games as fondly. But that's all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.